Welcome to the Astro Psyche. I'm so happy that you're here. This is your weekly astrology for August 18th through the 24th. And this week, I want to share with you some of the aspects that are involving Chiron, the asteroid of healing and personal development, and also teaching and mentorship. There's a lot that Chiron covers, particularly around our continued process of becoming. And we'll also talk about the new moon that's happening in Virgo and some of the aspects that it's making. My name is Shawna McGrath. I'm a depth psychotherapist and an astrologer, and I'm so honored to share the astrology of this week with you from a depth psychological perspective. So, first, before we get to the new moon, because the new moon is happening on Friday, earlier in the week, we have several planets that are activating the asteroid of Chiron. So, firstly, that is Venus is making a square to Chiron. And I want us to be thinking about aspects more as waves or waveforms or fields of energy rather than particular blips of events. And sometimes it can be experienced like that, particularly if it's a quick moving planet. Um, but what's happening right now in the sky is that Venus and Jupiter are very close together in the sign of Cancer. So we had a Venus Jupiter conjunction last week, but they're still very close. And so this week, Venus is making an exact square to Chiron. And even though Jupiter is not exactly making the square, Jupiter sort of gets pulled into this wave of energy. And so we can think of it as Venus and Jupiter as an archetypal combination, this combination of expanding our capacity for love and beauty and connection, exploring how we want to move more emotionally into our values, what it is that we value at an emotional level, and how we pursue those things, those qualities, and those experiences. So there's something here around exploring and expanding our sense of desire and our capacity for connection that is activating the healing function, which is Chiron. So, Chiron, the asteroid, is a symbol of healing, and often healing comes when there is something that isn't functioning properly, or there is something that is painful, or there has been um, a wounding, or a harming, or an intrusion in some way. And so, because this is a square aspect, so Cancer makes a square to the sign of Aries, we know that there's a bit of tension here. There's a bit of possibly an emotional confrontation kind of energy, and this can be something external, it can be something internal. Um, and the way that I'm feeling into it is that there's something here that involves a relational healing. And I really like that we have Venus and Jupiter together as a combination because Jupiter tends to expand and include and elaborate, and Venus is so much about the healing that can come through connection, through relationships, through exploring what is pleasurable, what is enjoyable, what is aesthetically pleasing. And so there's something here that is highly relational, that is highly sensory, that leads to a sense of healing. And oftentimes I think that healing is can be very literal, it can be very physical. Sometimes it's more mental and emotional, and sometimes there's this connection that the mental, emotional, physical body may be reflecting one particular symptom or one particular issue. And as I reflect on this transit, I'm thinking about the late psychotherapist and Jungian analyst James Hillman, and how he wrote very much about honoring our symptoms and honoring the things that are challenging. And I would say this is, we could think of this as honoring a symptom that is physical in nature or a symptom that is emotional or mental, and looking at it as symbolic, as a symbolic communication from psyche, from your soul. Now, of course, this doesn't take away the actual literal pain or suffering that may come from our symptoms. And also, it can help us feel more connected to ourselves when we look at symptoms symbolically. It can help us feel a sense of meaning, and it can help us engage with ourselves, with life in a way that uh, hopefully helps us move toward healing, even if the healing is processing grief and acceptance around something that does not have an easily solvable solution, or maybe there is no solution for a particular symptom. I think Chiron really reminds us that there there are things that, or let's see, actually, how do I want to say this? Uh, because of Chiron's mythology, it's really not about finding a cure, finding a fix, though of course that may happen. It's really more about how you hold your pain. And when I say pain, I mean things that are of discomfort, again, physically, mentally, emotionally, things that are that are tender or vulnerable or hurt, and how we dress our wounds, how we tend to the vulnerable parts of ourselves, and that the vulnerabilities that we have may even serve as something that can lead us to be in service to others, to the world. I'm like hesitating in saying that because I think that that can be a tricky business. Um, Trying to uh, is this how I want to say this? Trying to like capitalize on your pain and suffering. I don't, I think it can be very easy to do that and then to say, okay, yes, this is how I'm going to fix myself in a way that is, yeah, it can be sort of um, a way of bypassing the pain. But I think in the best case scenario, we we find meaning in the things that are challenging, and we do what we can. And so that this is my long-winded way of saying that there's something here around uh, the healing function and vulnerabilities that may involve relationships, that may involve also Jupiterian themes, which are diversity, social justice, exploring things, trying new things, learning about new things. Um, Jupiter has this quality of fertility. Jupiter also rules over children and childbirth, as well as religions and spiritualities and cultural, social studies. So Jupiter is very broad. There's a uh, an all-encompassing, all-inclusive capacity to it. And so I really feel for you this a sense of fertility in your healing process. Um, we could also think of this fertility in your personal self-development process, this process of becoming, this process of, in the Jungian psychology, we would call it the process of individuation. Um, Humanistic therapists would call it the process of self-actualization. It is this process of moving more and more into yourself through your experiences, et cetera, et cetera. So uh, those are some of the themes with this Venus Jupiter making a square to Chiron. Also, what's happening, so we're also uh, adding to this energy field, this energy wave, is that the sun this week in Leo is making a trine to Chiron in Aries. And so trines are very subtle. They tend to be sort of background energy that we can, uh, that are just like not really readily apparent. So I think what you're really going to be feeling more so are the Venus and Jupiter, but the sun is sort of here too. And so the sun is a symbol of vitality, our inner source energy. It's a symbol of confidence and enthusiasm, leadership, being seen. The sun is also a symbol of paternal figures, people who are paternal figures in our life, or our concept of what it means to be a paternal figure in someone's life. And so there's also something here that may involve, actually, I'm also just too thinking about how both the sun and Jupiter can be symbols of people that are offering you support or help or assistance in some way, but in a benevolent way. And so there might be something here where there is support that is readily offered to you, that there is some light that's being shed on the matter. Also, so the last piece maybe I'll say about this is that early in the week we have the moon in Gemini and then Cancer. And that is Monday, Tuesday is really when this aspect is most exact because this week the sun is moving into Virgo and then Venus is going to be moving farther and farther away. This week it's going to move into Leo actually next week. And so we also have the moon into this equation, and it's a waning moon because it's just a couple of days, several days before the new moon in Virgo on Friday. And so adding this in, that the sun's, this is maybe a little complicated, so if it, just let it wash over you. Uh, the sun in Leo is making this trine to Chiron, and we simultaneously have the waning moon, the disappearing moon, the releasing moon moving towards the sun. And so I also feel this possibility for an easy letting go and releasing maybe of things that have been painful or challenging so that you can accept and receive more. Venus is very much about receiving, receiving love and receiving the things that are beautiful, that we enjoy, and Jupiter opens up space for this. I will say too, a potential for Jupiter always is this feeling of too muchness, or even at the most extreme, a feeling of engulfment, a feeling of like overwhelm. I don't know. I'm not quite necessarily feeling that, but that is possible. And I'm saying that in particular because this is a square. So there's also I'm saying this because if you are already feeling a sense of overwhelm, or if that tends to be a common reoccurring experience that you have, the more that you can do to uh, to create space or time or pauses to help you emotionally digest, that's going to be helpful for you this week because I feel the fullness of this week. And so, emotional digesting is going to help us to process the bigness of Jupiter. And also, the emotional digestion and processing is going to assist with the releasing process of where we're at in this lunar cycle this week with the waning moon. So, so that's a big part of this week. And I'm curious, would love for you to take a moment either now or after the video to just sit with what is coming up for you as I'm sharing this, and what kinds of thoughts or feelings or images you have. Now, Also, this week, we have the sun moving into Virgo, and then right away, we have the new moon in Virgo. So, let's talk about that also. So, both these things happen on Friday. The sun moves into Virgo on Friday, August 22nd at 1:34 p.m. Pacific time. So, depending on where you are in the world, it may be Friday, it might be Saturday. Happy birthday to my Virgo people. Happy Virgo season. And then we have our new moon in Virgo also on Friday, the 22nd of August at 11:06 p.m. Pacific time at 0 degrees of Virgo. So if we're on Pacific time, it's on Friday. I think for a majority of the other folks that are farther east from Pacific time, it's going to be into Saturday morning, maybe afternoon. Okay, so, and then also this is activating a square to the planet Uranus as well. So it's activating the that energetic wave form of Uranus. And so uh, we think of the sun in astrology as our collective spotlight. It's where the conscious focus is. And this is very connected to the seasons because in Western tropical zodiac astrology, which is what I use, this is what most Western astrologers use, uh, we base the sign that the sun is in on the seasons. So the zodiac in the West, in the tropical zodiac, is connected to our seasonal points. We start with Aries at the spring equinox or the fall equinox, depending on which hemisphere you're um, in April. So we begin with that in mind. And I'm saying that because uh, the sun is inherently connected to our seasonal natural world phenomena. And we can think of the change in signs from Leo to Virgo in this case as a brief chapter of a different sort of season. This is why we say Leo season, Virgo season, etc. And in this case, it's more of a focal point on the sign and the qualities of the sign. And of course, this is colored by all of the different aspects that we talk about in this weekly video. And life is complicated, life is nuanced. There's always a multiplicity of things. And so the astrology reflects this as well. So with this change into Virgo, um, we're moving from a previous month, Leo, which Leo is more, gosh, Leo is so much about giving and receiving love, self-expression, the spontaneous joy of sharing yourself with other people. There's also this quality with Leo of being seen, um, and all of the feelings that the complicated feelings that may come up with being seen, uh, being more determined. Um, I've been also really thinking about Leo too, and how there is this quality of claiming, and there is this uh, there's this thing with Leo energy around confidence and expression where there's like a working through on how we uh, we feel a sense of confidence to take up space or not, and what that looks like, and when that looks different ways in different contexts. And so very there's something very energizing and confidence building, I think, about Leo season. So that's what we're coming from. We're coming from that. I think that Leo energy, depending on your temperament, especially if being seen or being visible is something that feels complicated for you, I think that it can be very clarifying to go through a Leo season. So we move into Virgo, which Virgo is this mutable earth sign. So we're going from Leo, which is fixed fire. There's like a heat to Leo, whereas Virgo is more rooted, more cool, and more flexible. Virgo at its core is about is about process, systems, and really, Virgo is about holding space for the now, for what is, and then also being able to see forward and backward in time and holding space for that uh, multiplicity and creating a sense of beauty and ritual and order and process out of what may feel like a lot or chaotic. And this is, I think, the beauty of the mutable signs is that there is always so much that's happening, and it can be chaotic and it can be overwhelming. And also, there is a beautiful symmetry that can happen. There can be a dance or a poeticness that comes together. And so this is the vibe. This is the energy of Virgo as we move into Virgo season this Friday and Saturday this week. Let's see, what else do I want to say about this? So Virgo is known for being practical and discerning, and I think this is certainly the case. And Virgo is about looking at the order of things. Um, I really want us to be thinking about Virgo not just as analyzing and intellectual. Virgo is also very mystical. The ruling planet of Virgo is Mercury, and Mercury is connected to our intellect and our mind and communication, that more linear, logical, uh, the more linear sort of process of things, business, commerce, and Mercury and Virgo as well. Mercury and Virgo are also connected to divination. Divination and the transmission of wisdom and knowledge and moving something from one thing to another thing. So this is also like, I think, the realm of digestion. Mercury is the psychopomp, psychopomp being a figure who um, guides souls from the moment of death into a final resting place in the underworld, in the other world. And Mercury was the only um, deity in Greek mythology who could go back and forth. And so there's also this shepherding, there's this quality of protecting, and uh, I would relate this also to Mercury being the function that helps us to receive messages and to decode messages that are symbolic in nature. So, from our dreams, from synchronicities, if you do any sort of meditative trance, magical, or journey type work where you're connecting with yourself or spirit guides or ancestors. Mercury is the function that helps with this, and thus Virgo is connected to those things. Okay, so I digress. So I really want to emphasize that the Virgo is not just the logical, it's also the more spatial and mystical qualities, and that we need both of those. So yeah, do I want to? I think that feels complete as far as Virgo. So there's more of a focus on process, I think, this next month with the Sun in Virgo. Also, because of the quality of Earth and Virgo's nature in general, there is more of a grounded, practical, let's get down to what is actually going on here kind of energy. So I think that sometimes it can be more serious in tone as well. Now, we are talking about the Sun square Uranus, so maybe not so serious. I don't know. We're going to talk about that more in a moment. Uh, so we have our new moon in Virgo also, and I want to speak to that a bit here. So the new moon in Virgo is happening Friday, August 22nd, 11:06 p.m. Pacific time. So Friday or Saturday. And it's at 0 degrees. And this is really relevant that it's at 0 degrees, the very beginning of the sign, because every year we have one sign of the zodiac that gets two lunations, and it changes every year. Um, and this is just the way that things fall. So typically in a year, we have our new moons going in order. So for example, we had our last new moon that we had last month was in Leo. The new moon before that, the month prior, was in Cancer. The new moon before that prior was in Gemini, and so on. So we follow the order of the zodiac. And sometimes we get a double. So we're getting a double of Virgo this week. And then in September, we'll have another new moon in Virgo, but it's happening at 29 degrees of Virgo, so the very end of the sign. That will also be a solar eclipse. So we're going to talk about eclipses much more in the coming weeks, in the coming month. Um, but just yes, it like put that sort of in the back of your mind that eclipses are happening in September. And so I share that with you because now we're getting a sort of a little entry into the energies that are going to be more prominent and more present and more highlighted in September. So we get sort of this like preview, sneak peek kind of energy. Um, Also, what else? There's something else. Okay, yeah. Sometimes lots of things come into my brain and I can only say one at a time. So, also, when we have any planet at the very beginning of a sign, it can feel sort of green or fresh or young or unknown. It's sort of this like, uh, I'm getting this like image of a deer that's just been born and its legs are a little wobbly. It's like that kind of energy. Um, and so there might be this week with this new moon a feeling into something new that is archetypally Virgo, that is archetypally around um, ritual or process or how you um, plan or how you um, move through the world in a way that is either practical or meaningful. There might be something new that's sort of coming into focus here. And of course, with new moons, we always look at this as the seeding of something, and sometimes it's very apparent what is beginning. Sometimes we don't know. Sometimes the seeds are sort of being planted in secret, so to speak, and we see the shoots coming up. We see the progress in the weeks to come. Now, also really important with this lunation is that it's connecting in with Uranus. So, uh, Uranus is the planet that is about the unexpected. So the very nature of it is that it is difficult to predict how it may show up for you, how it may be channeled into your life. There's Uranus is the trickster. So there's something always unexpected. I'm even thinking of so one of Uranus's symbols in mythology is the god Prometheus in Greek mythology. And so a part of Prometheus's story is that he stole fire, gave it to humans, even though he wasn't supposed to. And then he got punished by Zeus. His punishment was to uh, be on some mountain in the underworld, and this is really gross. He had to like have his either his heart or his liver eaten out by an eagle for something like 300,000 years or eternity, depending on which story you read. And and also, what ended up happening was Chiron and Hercules in the mythology swooped in after some time and relieved him and saved him from that so that he was able to be free. And so I share that with you because there's sort of like a trickster, unexpected element through and through there where Prometheus he thought he was being sneaky, he got caught, and then even though he was sentenced to something very terrible, uh, there was a chain of events that happened afterwards that released him from that. So that could not have been anticipated. And so I think there's something with Uranus where we have to keep in mind that we're never really at the end of the story. We really um, don't know how something is going to play out, that there's this constant change. And when we have an aspect involving Uranus, it's this highlight of sort of there can be there can be a revelatory change or breakthrough or something that happens that is sort of shocking in some way. And so this may be the case with the sun making the square to Uranus and with the new moon making the square to Uranus. So the new moon is at 0 degrees of Virgo and Uranus is at 1 degrees of Gemini. So this is very close. Um, yeah, I also want to say when we have particularly the sun square to Uranus, there can be, or the sun in aspect to Uranus in general, there can be something here around wanting to be free or unburdened, particularly from, or well, do I want to say, because the sun is so connected to our sense of vitality and our sense of feeling vibrant. It's also very connected to our ego and our sense of self. So there might be something here where there is a breaking free from something that maybe you felt like defines you, and maybe you realize that it doesn't define you anymore. It might be something like this. Um, It might be something around making choices that embolden you, that make you feel more free, that make you feel more like you are like, yes, this is, I think there's a sense of excitement in choice when I think about Sun Uranus. And with the new moon being into this equation, there is the things that you do now have an impact. So, of course, that is always true, but the things that you do now, there is more to come. There's more that will be built on that. And so, as you're moving towards the end of this week, particularly Friday through the weekend, once the sun is fully in Virgo, uh, it can help us to say, okay, what is it that is important to you? What is it that you're moving toward, that you want? And how can you focus your energy on saying yes to the things that are drawing you, that are attracting you? This is connecting in with the Venus Jupiter Chiron. How can you say yes to the things that are that you're feeling called towards, in contrast to trying to like push against something, because the pushing against something kind of sort of feels a little, it feels harder to me when I'm feeling into it. So, like, I think this week is really about um, saying yes and having disruptions that help you to move towards what it is that feels enlivening, that feels like it's connecting you more to yourself. Okay. Let's see. Is there more that I want to say about that? So, um, yeah, this week, some reflections that I would offer you maybe to sit with or to meditate on are uh, where is your joy? Where is your love? Where do you feel a sense of beauty or pleasure in the world? And what are you feeling drawn towards? There's something this week that feels very magnetic. And when you are focusing on that, I think that helps to create the capacity for the Uranian opening. Um, this could also very much look like a download of, or an opening of ideas or insights or inspirations. And there's something there for you that can continue to be elaborated on. Okay, so I am going to pull some cards for you. If you're not already, I invite you to get into a place that feels comfortable, either seated or standing or moving. And imagine yourself contained within this beautiful protective bubble of light. Can be any color, any texture. If you're not a visualization person, you can um, have a sense of knowing that there is this beautiful protective sphere around you. And as you're here, you may wish to invite in the presence of your spiritual guidance team, ancestors, whoever or whatever is that benevolent guiding force for you. Ask that they are here with you to help you, to protect you, and to communicate with you in a way that you can easily understand. Okay. If you like, you can pick a card, a number between 1 and 3. That card will be special to you. Okay. First card is the Ace of Wands, which I feel like we got recently. I feel like we're getting some doubles here. I pulled this upright, and in this deck, it's an image of a person sort of like hanging on fiercely to this broom they're flying straight up through the sky. And they have this beautiful full hair. They have a green shirt on and blue shorts, and there's a cat on their head. So, Ace of Wands is very new moon to me. All of the aces are very new moon because it's the initiation of something, it's the root of something, it's like the very um it's sort of like the raw energy behind something. And in this case, it's the raw energy of passion, of enthusiasm, of action and movement, and yeah, taking action, taking risks. Mm. So there's something new here that's beginning. There's something that, what's coming up for me now as I'm looking at this card is I want to say that the astrology is always happening, and the astrology is like this archetypal energetic cosmic clock. So it's really not about the astrology, it's about you and your life. And hopefully, the astrology is simply helping you connect in to what is happening around you and what is happening through you and what is happening for you. And that is happening regardless. um, that uh, that your participation and engagement with your life and with the archetypal energy of the astrology, that is beautiful, and I find deep meaning in that. And also, um, your life is happening for you regardless. And so I'm not, I hope that makes sense as I'm saying it to you, but I'm just sort of thinking of how sometimes when there is a transit or a new moon in particular, we can sort of feel a pressure to like do something with it. And I feel like this card is telling you that it's happening. You are doing something with it, even though it may not be apparent. And yes, you can participate through taking actions that align and mirror and mimic and enhance the the astrology and the themes, and also your life is already happening. And so, in some ways, you can also hang on for the ride and enjoy it and see what happens. And that it's not like dependent on you entirely to navigate. That, and, depending on your spiritual practice, your worldview, one may say that you also have your ancestors, your spiritual guidance team assisting you as well. And so yeah, there may be more I want to say about this in a moment, but that's just what's coming to my mind is um, that yeah, you're doing it and it's happening. Okay, so second card is the Seven of Pentacles. And this card tends to be about work and practice and determination. And I actually want to read from the book for this particular card because it has kind of a different symbol in it from the traditional Smith weight. So the imagery in this card is there's a person in a blue dress and they have these really cool uh, blue braids on either side of their head, and they have a witch's hat, and there's a cauldron in front of them that has sort of spilled over and it looks a little chaotic. Um, and they're sort of like, holy cow, what's happening? So, uh, the Seven of Pentacles, and so we know pentacles are a symbol of more material matters, earth energy, practical things. So in this deck, it says, in haste and confusion, erroneous actions can be made. Take your time, think it over, and take a good look around. Okay, so at first blush, this card seems to be encouraging patience. And usually in the traditional Smith Waite imagery, this card is about really sitting down to practice and to do the thing, to also I'm hesitating because I'm like, is it so there's a quality of one pointed focus. Like you're like, okay, this is what I'm doing, and this I'm gonna do it, and I'm gonna finish it, and I'm gonna refine it, and I'm gonna get better at it, and that is what I'm doing, and I'm doing nothing else. There's sort of that energy to the Seven of Pentacles, but I'm hesitating because we're also talking about a Virgo new moon that's square Uranus. So there's a bit of changeability and flexibility and eclecticness. And maybe actually, as I'm saying that, maybe this is the overturned pot there's like, oh, there's unexpectedness. And there's also something that, like, if we're not um, laser focused, there might be something that gets upended. But also, yeah, there's with both Virgo and Uranus, it's really important to embrace flexibility, to embrace change. Mutable signs like Virgo do really well with moving from one thing to another. And um, there can be so much propaganda around sitting down and focusing and not moving from one thing to another and finishing something once you start it. Like that's a very strong um, sort of narrative that I encounter a lot as a person that likes to uh, hop around on things and projects. But I think Virgo and Uranus really encourage us to um, do what we're doing when we're doing it, and then also know when it's time to get up and switch to something else. And that doesn't mean that you may not go back to the original thing, but there's something about having the flexibility for being in the moment. And so, um, uh, just going back to the first card, the Ace of Wands, the Ace of Wands is the beginning, it's the initiation, it's that like raw energy. And so when I'm looking at this just initially, there's something here that maybe there's like some raw energy that is maybe being refined or being worked on or worked through. There's kind of like some molding and experimentation that's happening, maybe. And the last card is the moon. And so in this deck, there's an image of a person sitting on a moon with a blanket around them. Their eyes are closed. They look very uh, reflective and comfy, and they're just really being held in the sky by the moon here. So in the tarot, the moon is a symbol of the unconscious, the subconscious, of exploring our intuition, our wonderings, our psychic senses, and it's about deep introspection. The moon reminds us, the moon in tarot reminds us that we don't really know what we'll find when we encounter unconscious material. It's eternally mysterious. And uh, in the traditional Smith-Waite tarot deck, there's typically a picture of an ocean shore or a body of water, and there's a lobster that's crawling out, and there's a wolf that's crawling out, and then it sort of looks like it's pointing to this threshold or this tower, or this gate, and we can think of, excuse me, mm, we can think of the lobster and the wolf as symbolizing the wildness of psyche, the wildness of the unconscious, and that our unconscious our unconscious material, whether those are thoughts or feelings or behavior patterns, they're not rational. They're a bit like a feral animal in some way, in that their nature is not to be tamed. But when we make things conscious, when we become more aware bit by bit, that which is unconscious comes into the light and it actually changes. It becomes something different. And and also there's always this we always have unconscious material that never goes away. And that there's always something unknown for us to connect to. And frankly, I think it's really cool that we got the Ace of Wands and the Moon card. That feels very like new moon symbolism to me. Um, and so often when this card comes up, it can be a call to explore or reflect on the unconscious in some way. It can be a call to reflect more deeply on your experience, on what is happening, on maybe looking at dreams or synchronicities or symptoms or interpersonal dynamics from a symbolic perspective. And so, as I'm looking at these as a whole, there's it definitely feels sort of like the call here, like the call as in the mythologist Joseph Campbell wrote about this concept called the hero's journey. And a part of the hero's journey is that there's a call, there's a, whether that's internally or externally, there's something inside that a person feels drawn to or compelled to explore more deeply. And there's a whole um, chain of events that happens when that person moves towards the thing, when they answer the call. And so I'm feeling that in all of these cards and in this week as well. So there's something here that's like some raw energy, some raw passion, enthusiasm. I could even say the Ace of Pentacles feels like the desire to feel connected to people or to yourself, the desire to be loved. It's going to be whatever it is for you, but there's something that's sort of like raw energy or raw emotion that wants to be alchemized, that wants to be processed, that, and maybe, alchemy is a bit of a messy process. It's labor intensive. There's many steps and sometimes stuff spills and you got or it, fumes up and you're like, "Oh my gosh, that didn't go the way I wanted to." So there's kind of like a messiness in this process. And also going through that leads you leads you on a path to deeper connection. And there's something inherently unknown, and I think this is the Uranian element here, the Seven of Pentacles and the Moon. There's something unknown here, and there's something that you're either um, exploring, that you're wandering into new terrain, new sense of discovery about yourself, or something is coming forward from within you. Something is being sort of drawn out from you that is brand new. Right. So I just love sharing these videos and the astrology with you. I hope that you enjoyed this. I do want to let you know that starting in September, I will have a couple of spaces open in my psychotherapy practice. And so if you are interested in entering into depth psychotherapy, you can find out more info on my website, theastropsyche.com. Would love to hear from you. And yeah, just wishing you a beautiful, easeful, and safe week ahead. Talk to you soon.